Thanksgiving was always a highlight to me when I was growing up because most of the time we would travel to Florida to spend it with my dad's side of the family, who are really boisterous, funny, and close-knit. Our agenda usually had a lot of fun things to do as well, including a trip to Busch Gardens, Tampa, which was a mecca to me once I became fully obsessed with roller coasters in middle school. Montu, a B&M inverted roller coaster, is still one of my favorites, and I will never forget seeing it one year being constructed and being so excited about riding it in the future, and then coming back for the next Thanksgiving and being able to do that and it fully living up to the hype. On Thanksgiving Eve, my Uncle Lon would always throw a cousins party because all of our extended family were in town, including even second cousins. So it was a very debaucherous evening. A lot of drinking was going on. A lot of really crappy food was being consumed. My mom wasn't much of a drinker, nor was my Aunt Kate. So we would all go into a bedroom, close the door away from all the noise, and just talk about Survivor and other TV shows and have these very civilized discussions as everyone else was just getting plastered. That was my little escape because as much as I really enjoyed the energy of the entire family, I also needed a little bit of my own time. And obviously when I was a kid, I wasn't partaking in any of the alcohol. So it just became very overwhelming. And at times I just wanted to tuck away with my Game Boy and play whatever game that I was playing at that moment instead of having to engage with people who were all slurring their words. We always celebrated Thanksgiving Day at my grandparents' house with my grandma Gwen taking the lead with all the cooking and baking. Every Thanksgiving staple was accounted for, but where my grandma had the most expertise was baking pies. Her pies were absolutely incredible, though as she did get older, they got progressively worse, but they were still at their worst, better than most pies out there. And then when everyone was stuffed, we would play a really cutthroat game of takeaway bingo, where in the first round, everyone just selected from the prizes at the center of a table. And once those were gone, then the caller, who usually was my dad, would set a timer that only he would know that would end the game whenever it was up, but no one knew that, so you had to be really aggressive with the prizes that you were taking from other people because you never knew if that timer was going to go off. And when I talk about the prizes, it is nothing fantastic. My extended family did not have a lot of money, so we're talking about flip-flops, CDs, candy, a gift card for $15. There wasn't anything insane in the prizes, but there would always be one that would be fought over, and it changed every year. One year, it was this wooden moose that you would put chocolate into, and then it would poop it out. And another year, there was this soap dispenser that was in the shape of a cow, and anytime you would push it down, it would moo. My mom wanted that dispenser for whatever reason. Realistically, I couldn't care less about any of the prizes except for maybe some of the candy. So I went in on that cow with her. Anytime I would get bingo or she would get bingo, we would snatch that cow from whoever had it to make sure it came home with us. And it did. We were successful. And that cow dispenser actually outlived her. It was still on her vanity in the primary bathroom when she passed away. She used it for lotion. I don't know where that cow dispenser went, but I hope whoever has it enjoyed it as much as my mom did. Of course, football games were on throughout the day, which I truly could not care less about, but my entire family was so invested in all the games. Even if they didn't have a team they were really rooting for, they were constantly screaming at the screen, especially when the Green Bay Packers were playing, because that was their team. They had all been born and raised in Wisconsin and then migrated en masse to Florida, so they would just be screaming at the television whenever they were playing. They would be hooting and hollering anytime that there was a touchdown. They'd be screaming at the refs. Every type of event in the game elicited some loud response from them, to the point that my great grandma, who was hard of hearing at the time and in a completely different room, just started screaming out, "Get me out of this hellhole," because it was just too much to take. And I truly resonated with that crotchety old woman in that moment because I just did not understand the psychology of screaming at a television because they were not moving the needle at all in the outcome of the game. And finally, there were endless games of Rook being played, which is a team-based trick-taking card game that I hear is similar to Bridge, but I can't confirm or deny that because I've never played Bridge. So while everyone was focused on the games, my second cousins, Jan and Julie, and I would be playing Rook along with a fourth person that we would rope in who we could at least steal away from the television. Usually that was my mom because she didn't truly care that much about football, and we would have such a good time playing together. By far, it was much more entertaining to me than any football game that has ever happened in life. All these activities and the family bonding were the reason why my dad was so in his feelings in the moment I included for November 24th in my book, Losing Linda May, A Cancer Caregiving Memoir, because the celebrations that were occurring in Florida were objectively better than the reality in which we were living, which was that we were stuck in a one-bedroom apartment together in New York City because my mom's cancer had relapsed once again, and the only option left for her to pursue was an experimental trial which offered no guarantees that it would actually prolong her life in any meaningful way. So yes, my dad was very rightfully so upset about the fact that he wasn't able to celebrate Thanksgiving like he had done for all the other years in his life. My mom would have also preferred to just be celebrating a normal Thanksgiving in Florida, but alas, she had no choice in the matter. None of us did. Traditions are unfortunately finite because at some point there will be passings in your family. So seize them while you can. Don't pass them up in favor of other things because you will ultimately have to celebrate them differently in the future. So bask in the normality of them for as long as you possibly can. In the next video I'll be releasing on November 29th, I'll be talking about the complicated logistics of being in an experimental trial. So hit subscribe, leave any questions in the comments. The link to my book is in the description, and I will see you all then.